Welcome back. Before we get into talking about reducing noise, we need to talk about your color environment. Color environment. Make sure that your desktop has a neutral gray color, as you can see here. Make sure that your room's your light source is above and in back of the monitor. Keep it dimmed and constant. And if you're using an adjustable rheostat, make a marking on your rheostat where you have the best lighting, so that way you can remember it each time. And make sure, since your screen is reflective, the wall behind you should be neutral in color, no bright posters or other images. And also make sure that you're wearing a neutral color shirt, not a hot pink. The hot pink will give off and will affect your corrections of photo, believe it or not. Now let's get into noise. What is noise? Well, according to Wiki, its digital cameras work with a sensor instead of film. We all know this. Sensors receive light and process it into electrical charges called photodiodes, whose outputs are reflected as pixels in your final digital image. These electrical charges tell the sensor what color each corresponding pixel is meant to be and other information which will create your digital image. When the light hits the sensor, photodiodes, a signal of electrons are produced in order to convey the light to the camera sensor. Electronic noise is the unwanted fluctuations in a signal. In a digital camera, it manifests itself as speckles, or usually colored and patternless. And the thing about noise is, now in this chapter, we're not using camera raw first. I suggest that when you're correcting photos, use camera raw first, because you can adjust the noise, sharpen the photo, and do all the other corrections at the same time. If you are not using camera raw, as we are in this chapter, I would suggest that one of the first things you do is fix noise. The reason is that software has a better capability of reducing noise if you don't affect the color contrast, because it knows what it's looking for. All right, so we have this image here called tokens, which I think is kind of cute, kind of shows you where the money goes. But it doesn't look like it has any noise problems, right? Well, remember, we're viewing this at 16.91%. You must, when fixing noise, look at it at 100%. So press Control 1 and you can see the noise now, right? So how do we reduce noise? The first thing that I would do is, if this is not a smart object, I would press Control J. Press Control J so we have a reference and we're not affecting the background. And then we go to Filter, Noise, Reduce Noise. Simple, right? And the first thing that we're going to talk about, OK, cancel means to get out of the dialog box. Don't apply any changes. Most important is your preview. You want to see what's going on, right? Without this, then you can't see. So all these settings that you're making, you can't see. So it doesn't make any sense. You have basic and you have advanced tabs. I'll show you advanced here in a second. One of the first things I do is I just take my strength slider and just move it all the way to the left, reduce color noise, sharpen details. Because this is a JPEG, I'm going to remove JPEG. Sounds right. Then I'm just going to start increasing the strength. And then I'm going to take my preserved details and wipe it out. And you can see here, if I go to 10, look at the image. When you click on the image, before, let go, after. Click on the image, before, after. You see the difference? This is the thing with noise. There's always a trade-off. How clear and crisp do you want the image, or how much noise do you want the image? It's always, which one do you want more of, or can you find the right balance? So one of the first things that I do is I'll just start reducing my strength. See how much I can get away with before I start seeing things come back. And then I'll bring in my preserved details. And then I'll click on the image to see the difference. And I'll go, okay, this seems kind of reasonable. Alright, now I can reduce the color noise. Sometimes what I do is I just go over here all the way to the right and see if there's any reduction in color noise. And as I move back and forth, I'm not seeing any really major changes, so I'll probably just leave it off. And then I can sharpen the details once I use this slider. Now the other options that we have is advanced. Now what I like about advanced is you can do your overall, which we have, and do a per channel. Now what does that mean? Well, if I go back to my channels panel over here, which is over here, and I go to Windows, Channels, you can see as I click through the channels, yeah, you see noise in the red, you see noise in the green, but you see a lot of noise in the blue. Probably green and blue is similar, but it seems like the blue has a lot more noise. So then I'll click on my RGB, click on my layers. I'll go back, make sure that my second layer is selected. I'll go back to Filter, Noise, Reduce Noise, and then I'll go to the Advanced tab, click on per channel, and choose my channel blue, and then start reducing. Let's see how much I can. Oh, gotta take that. Sorry. Okay, you have to give it a second sometimes. Sometimes it's not immediate, just so you know. And I can click on the before, before, after. Not that much of a difference, but most of your difference is here. So let me see if I can get away with 7. Okay. Let's see if I can preserve some detail. Alright, I like that. And then press OK. And this will apply the setting. Just give it a couple seconds. And you probably have to redo this a couple more times or try out some different settings, because you can see here I still have some issues, of course. But if I look at my before, you can see I fixed it a little. It's really hard to see, but I'm okay with it. Now it's still a little blurry because the initial image is blurry. And when I double click the hand tool and bring it back into focus, I can technically get away with it. But it did fix it a little. I probably would have to go back in there and spend some more time on that. But I just wanted to show you how the reduced noise works and how to go about it. Next chapter we're going to talk about chromatic aberration.